Welcome everyone to my review of DC X Sonic issue number 2. As you can see, I'm back on my traditional review format. In case you're unaware, in my last review, I experimented with the format in an attempt to shake things up a bit. Based on the numerous comments I've received, the experiment was a failure. So it's back to the summary/general thoughts format for the rest of the crossover. You know the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Perhaps if/when I do a compilation video around December, I'll reformat/redo part 1 in my traditional method. For now, let's concentrate on part 2. First things first, I'm placing a spoiler warning here for things not only related to this issue, but to the previous one, info on future issues, and anything DC and Sonic related. And second, before getting started, I'll briefly recap what's happened last time. The DC villain Darkseid has invaded Sonic's world using his mobile satellite, the Ragnarok. His goal? To gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds for his own ends. For added insurance, he had the Master Emerald destroyed, so it wouldn't cancel out his prizes. Sonic and his friends also had to deal with an army of parademons, but luckily the Justice League arrived to help out. Once things calmed down, the two groups exchanged information regarding Darkseid and the Chaos Emeralds before pairing off, one Sonic character and one League member each, to try and hunt down the Emeralds before Darkseid can. Tails and Cyborg in particular head to the former's lab in order to create the means to track the Emeralds down faster. Unfortunately, Darkseid's in the lead regarding the Emerald hunt, as Sonic and the Flash soon discover. Once the Flash confirms to Sonic that this is Darkseid, the two immediately attack him, to no avail. Darkseid retaliates with his most dangerous ability, shooting Omega beams from his eyes. Unless you're very powerful yourself, one touch and you're instantly vaporized. He's such a master that he can send each individual beam towards a different target. In this case, one for Sonic and one for the Flash. The two are able to get rid of their beams by having them run into each other. While singed and dazed, at least the two speedsters are still alive. Darkseid boom tubes it back to the Ragnarok, while Flash updates everyone on the situation. On the Ragnarok, Darkseid reports that they're having a hard time tracking down the remaining 6 emeralds. It's almost as if they don't want to be found by Darkseid. This really highlights how dangerous Darkseid is, if the magic gems, who have been used by aliens and mad scientists alike, are trying to keep themselves hidden from the guy. Darkseid will not stand for this, especially since the Justice League is now involved, and orders the deployment of his elite forces to burn every corner of the planet until the emeralds are found. In the meantime, he'll plug in the one he has to his dimensional engine. Back in Tails' lab, he and Cyborg pick up on the elite forces' attack, and combined with their own data, they now have a general idea on the emeralds' locations. So each heroic duo is sent to the closest target to locate and fight for the emerald. Batman brings up the possibility that things may go foobar, and they'll need a contingency plan. Cyborg brings up his emergency boom tube that will teleport everyone to the Justice League's watchtower. Good for the heroes, bad for Sonic's world. Superman finishes the conversation by saying they'll rise to the occasion as always, as well as putting their faith in their new friends, i.e. the Sonic Gang. And so the various fights happen. The standout one being Batman and Shadow versus Steppenwolf. This is because 1, he's Darkseid's uncle, and 2, most importantly, he actually found the red Chaos Emerald. It doesn't matter to the Dark Heroes, as Batman uses one of his gadgets to distract Steppenwolf long enough for Shadow to get the emerald. And Steppenwolf is done as Shadow utilizes Chaos Control to stop time and pummel the new god into the ground. Batman hopes Chaos Control can thwart Darkseid, but they have to act fast because Darkseid's already getting pleasing results by plugging in the emerald into the dimensional engine. With just the one emerald alone, he could take care of Sonic's world no problem. And with all 7 universes. With the effects already being felt all over, the heroes need to get to the Ragnarok pronto. The problem is, Tails has nothing that can remotely approach the place relatively intact. Well, it just so happens Sonic and the Flash stumble upon someone who does. Yep, guess who's finally here? And he's brought a familiar airship with him. Eggman offers to get everyone onto the Ragnarok so they can deal with Darkseid. Once everyone boards the egg carrier, off panel mind you, it charges straight towards Darkseid's satellite and crashes straight into its eye. Something tells me this is a nod to a trip to the moon. The heroes eventually fight their way to the chamber where the dimensional engine and Darkseid awaits. Sonic and the Flash will go for the engine, while everyone keeps Darkseid busy. It doesn't quite work out for them. Not even Shadow's Chaos Control works, because Darkseid learned about the ability from Father Box and uses it himself thanks to his own Chaos Emerald. That's what I assume, at least. Shadow may be the ultimate life form, but as Darkseid himself says, Darkseid is. Sonic decides to go for the Emerald, and he fails. It's only thanks to the others that he doesn't get hit by Omega Beams at point blank range. The Flash makes it to the engine, which has a face on it. Yeah, I've been ignoring this for a bit. Is this the normal aesthetic on Apocalypse? Anyway, he uses his ability to vibrate through objects to try and sabotage the engine. But time has run out as Darkseid gets serious, and Cyborg has to pull the Flash to safety. However, Flash's tampering causes the dimensional engine to destabilize, meaning in about a minute, time and space on Sonic's world would be screwed. This is when the contingency plan comes into play. The League will try to prevent Darkseid from regaining control, while at the same time, sending the Sonic characters through Cyborg's emergency boom tube to safety, with Batman's departing words to them being, putting the League's faith in them. The Sonic gang arrive in the DC Universe's Watchtower, and witnessing their arrival is the superhero Mr. Terrific. Tails and Amy explain what happened and hopes Mr. Terrific can open a boom tube back to their world in order to help the League. Unfortunately, Mr. Terrific can't find the dimensional coordinates to target, which means Sonic's world and everyone on it is apparently gone. And thus part 2 ends with the possibility that the Sonic characters may be stuck on DC's Earth for good. Things are moving fast. Some would say a bit too fast. In-universe, it's understandable as Darkseid is actually achieving his goals, and the heroes have to stop him pronto. Out of universe, the pacing is so rushed, it can give one whiplash. A major consequence is that there are a lot of off-panel activities, and we the audience have to fill in the gaps with our own imaginations. For example, the heroes fight with the elites. Like I said earlier, only Batman and Shadow vs. Steppenwolf gets any sort of focus, probably because of the presence of another Chaos Emerald, and the fact that 2 very popular heroes were involved. Don't deny it, the other conflicts we see are limited to just one panel. The opponent Wonder Woman and Amy face off against is Lashina, a member of Darkseid's female Furies. Green Lantern and Silver's opponent is Mantis, a humanoid insect that can absorb energy sent at him by his enemies, and that includes Green Lanterns. And then there's Superman and Knuckles vs. Calabac, Round 2. I'll give this one a pass since we already saw the 2 wail on him last time. Now this is just me speculating, but I've got a feeling there were limitations of some kind placed on this miniseries, and the team had to do their best to work around them, at the cost of expanding certain events and characters. From a Sonic fan's perspective with limited DC knowledge, I wouldn't know who Wonder Woman and Amy's, and Green Lantern and Silver's opponents were unless I looked them up online. You can lump Mr. Terrific in there as well, since I had no idea who this guy was at first. I had to search DC hero with the letter T on his face to get the answer. I'm not joking. A simple solution to this would be to put an editor's box containing a character's name and a very brief description of who they are underneath. Again, simple but effective. Having limitations on the comic also means that certain heroic pairings, other than Batman and Shadow, get limited focus. That said, the only other character duo that gets focus in this issue is Sonic and the Flash, and it's mainly because the former is the main character of his franchise. They did have that fateful encounter with Darkseid in the beginning of the issue, which led to them updating the others on the situation. And Eggman did find them so the heroes can hitch a ride to the Ragnarok, again after gathering together off panel. To briefly go back on the limitations thing, I feel like Eggman's arrival should have been a bigger deal, since he is the main villain of the Sonic franchise. Besides the Flash, I would have liked to see the other League members react to his appearance, though there was this bit of Wonder Woman offering to help the Sonic heroes deal with Eggman after they take care of Darkseid. Back to Sonic and the Flash. Besides these pivotal moments, the main thing going on between the two is a continuation of what they started last time, trying to prove which one is the fastest. It was finally put to a stop when Superman told the two to knock it off on the Ragnarok. Makes sense given the space-time continuum was at stake. One major thing that stood out was the League's dedication to helping Sonic's world. It really shows why these guys are heroes on their own world, even sacrificing themselves when things go bad, while at the same time, saving the Sonic gang in the process by sending them to their Earth. While it's an excuse to justify the upcoming major premise of this crossover, it really shows how much faith they have in the Sonic crew, even if they only knew them for a number of hours. To be fair, they did see the Sonic crew in action, and can hold their own. Besides, thanks to future previews, the League and Sonic's world will be fine. They're just inaccessible at the moment. Easter eggs this time include character cameos. I've already pointed out the members of the Elite, but on Sonic's end, we first have the appearance of Big the Cat. He always appears in some random places every now and then, even if one such case turned out to be a digital copy made from Sonic's memories. Another character that made a brief appearance was Vector the Crocodile, head of the Chaotix Detective Agency. As Wonder Woman points out in the same panel, it would make sense that others in Sonic's network would join in on the Emerald Hunt, and the Chaotix are good detectives despite their goofy nature. Unfortunately, time was not on anyone's side. Finally, while he was instrumental in getting the 12 heroes to the Ragnarok, Dr. Eggman and his egg carrier feel like a cameo themselves, for the reasons I mentioned earlier. Sonic more or less tells the Flash about how he's used to teaming up with his arch-enemy against bigger threats, which has happened a number of times. Of course, it's because Eggman wants to rule the world himself.
It is his to conquer, so yes.
Yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it.
In the Eggman meetup scene, Flash brings up Superman having a bald mad scientist of his own. That would be none other than Lex Luthor. Depending on the writer and the continuity, he can be a mad scientist, businessman, or both. While we do see some Sonic locations that we can guess about, the one that definitely stood out besides South Island in the beginning is the Sonic Adventure 2 level, Radical Highway, Shadow's first level, appropriate for the situation. Well, all the pieces are in place for the Sonic crew to take up the mantle of the DC heroes. So let's see how they handle their new roles in issue 3. See ya then.